Smart not to be here right now because you can live your
keep
life.
it that way.
Hey, you guys, I'm there always when the Obamas do their date night and shut down all of Broadway, as if Broadway isn't bad enough now with the pedestrian walkway where people are eating their Quiznos subs on lawn chairs.
It wasn't date night; it was view time. It was
yeah,
review
no, that's
day.
true. Important business of the country with Whoopi and Joy and all my friends. They're fun. Come on, you can't blame them. They got the big interview. I don't blame them.
I don't. Do you think the president's going to pay a price for this politically?
Well, look, I think when even you have some of our friends in the traditional, more mainstream dinosaur media bringing this issue up of frivolity, right? It's a rather immature approach to world affairs when you have all the major world leaders in New York. You send your press secretary out yesterday to say, well, I'm sure he'll see them at various receptions. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, you have to actually have a relationship with these people. And the New York Times today, which is loath to criticize this president, even makes a point of saying he has not fostered the types of personal relationships that are really required to get us through these really rocky times, and he hasn't done that.
Yesterday on The View, the president did reveal, and it's going to be broadcast later today, that he refers to himself as the eye candy. I'm just the eye candy here. So he's busy there at The View rather than sitting down with Benjamin Netanyahu sometime this week, as Netanyahu would desperately like to know what the United States wants them to do about Iran, which wants to blow up Israel.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line is the president has used entertainment platforms. You know, I wrote about this 2.5 years ago in the Obama diaries. People thought I was exaggerating. He knows how to use the razzle-dazzle, and it really propelled him into the presidency in part in 2008, right? He didn't have a lot of experience, but he was really good with Ellen and with Oprah and with that whole crowd, and he was very likable. So he thinks now, even despite all of this incredibly tumultuous news, death of an ambassador, an economic cliff we're facing at the end of the year, that somehow the razzle-dazzle will rescue him again. Yeah, and I think this time it's not going to work.
Well, that's interesting, Laura, because I'm wondering if it will, actually. Because do you think that the average American is really listing all of the foreign leaders coming to the UN General Assembly today and paying close attention to that? And does he get a pass in more ways than one by not having these meetings, because then he doesn't create any news about it, so then even fewer Americans know what's really going on?
Well, I mean, I think that's what he's hoping, yeah. And I guess if nobody discusses it, then, yeah, I guess he could get a pass. If Romney doesn't make this a huge issue on the campaign trail, and I mean not just saying that the president jumped the gun and talking about the attack in Benghazi as spontaneous. Not just that. You have to frame this election for the voters. And Gretchen, you're right. I think so far, maybe we haven't done a very good job of framing this as the president perpetually partying with celebrities when the rest of the country is really in pain. That's how you frame it. That's how you have to do it. If it's not done, you're right. I guess people will think, well, it's just another nice UN meeting.
All right, 30% of the country voted before Election Day last time in 2008. They're already voting now. They're not waiting for the debates. However, you got to think that the president must have had some alarm bells, at least his handlers, when you saw how he was really without answers at the Univision forum. If that's if the president repeats that performance October 3rd, I think he's going to be in a lot of trouble against Mitt Romney.
That was one of the more surprising interviews I've seen of President Obama ever. And I think he thought he was going in and speaking to friends. And when Jorge Ramos looked at him and said, "Sir, with all due respect, a promise is a promise," and then there was some hang time there, right? The president looked at him, and you could tell he was getting annoyed. Obama does not like to get pressed on issues, and he generally is not. I think they want as many people to vote now as possible.
Absolutely.
Because guess what? We don't know how the debates are going to go. And once you cast your vote, there's no going back and saying, well, I didn't think Obama did very well. I want to change my vote. I don't like this early voting. I never have.
I don't either.
Is it people voting who already know, no matter what, who they're going to vote for? Or is it, do you think some of these independents are actually going to vote early?
I think, again, we have to ask why we're pushing this early voting. I thought our civic duty was supposed to be on Election Day with, exigent circumstances for our military, the disabled, other people who just simply cannot get to the polls. Now it's kind of this rolling voting process where the thing is not over yet. I mean, people are declaring this election over, and I think for a reason, because their guy could very well be in a lot of trouble. Republicans have an unbelievable ground game. I just met with the top people at the RNC across this country that's really not gotten a lot of coverage. But they are registering people to vote. And, yeah, they're actually involved in the early voting, too. But I think people who are rushing out to vote before they've really seen the president have to respond to real questions, I think they're doing themselves a disservice. Anything can happen over the next 40 days or so. And I think you're going to see President Obama in the hot seat like he's never been before in these first couple of debates.
I think you're right, Laura. And a couple of days ago when he was on 60 Minutes, while it wasn't completely back-to-back and they weren't sitting next to each other, when you saw the president and then you saw Mitt Romney, I think a lot of people, because Mitt Romney's been demonized by the mainstream media, it's kind of like, wait a minute, I kind of like that guy. People are going to give him a second thought.
I think that's right. A lot of folks out there on Twitter, I was tweeting about this, these dueling interviews, and when Mitt Romney answered the question of, what's your big idea, and he did not hesitate. He said freedom.
Right.
And now that we're seeing Hillary out there yesterday essentially proposing a global tax on the, quote, elites, that Mitt Romney was exactly right to say our freedom is under attack at every level, and my policies are going to be designed to lift everybody up and remind people that without liberty, all of this goes away. I thought that was a brilliant answer, and I think it framed the debate very well, perfectly, and he needs to now infuse that with a lot of more specifics, which I think you're going to see from him.
He's got to use Paul Ryan, too. That would help if he wanted to fully use his number 2 as opposed to President Obama, who probably doesn't. Let's look at what he wants to do. He wants to tax those who have had it too good for too long, the rich. What will it add up if we take all the money from the rich, the current deficit, if we raise it up to the Clinton-era levels? The current deficit is about over $1 trillion a year. Those are the proposals he put together. You'd save $87 billion if you raise it to the Clinton-era levels. The difference is just now you still owe $913 billion, and the rich have less money.
I mean, it's completely unserious. And for Hillary to get up there and talk, well, she's kind of laughing through her answer yesterday at that speech. Oh, well, we have these really rich people in all of these countries, and they need to, they don't do anything. She basically said they don't do anything to help the growth in many of these countries. And I think to myself, okay, we're going to have a fiscal cliff if we don't do anything about it. We have all these taxes are going to be hiked up. We have the Obamacare taxes that are about to kick in. Now we want to put another tax on top of all of that on the people who we desperately need to spend money and hire people in the United States. If I'm Mitt Romney, I seize on those remarks today and remind people that we pull this curtain back on the second Obama term, and it is truly a freedom killer. Yeah, I think he has an enormous opportunity here.
Maybe, but the unfortunate thing in the last couple of years is that to be successful has become a negative. I mean, it's almost like the American dream has become a negative. And even if you tax successful people in this country at 100%, if they give all their money to the government, it doesn't even begin to make a dent in the deficit.
Right.
But Laura, my question to you is, why has the Obama campaign been able to be successful at selling the simplistic messaging in that and not getting into the details?
Well, I think Republicans become very gun-shy about this when instead of standing up for success and capitalism and the free market, they think they have to be kind of softer. Like, well, I make money, but I'm a good guy. And instead, Romney has the great resume. All he has to say is, look, I'm really successful. I'm going to help all of you become more successful, because it's not the American dream to become a ward of the state. We need to be free of government shackles, free of government controls, and actually lift ourselves up. I'm rich. You're right. I am rich. And I want as many of you to become rich as possible, and the only way you're going to do that is to do it through the free market and the wonder of American business. Obama doesn't know business. I know business. He could do that speech, and I think he would get people on their feet. Republicans have not been great at defending the free market and advocating for it, Gretchen, and I think we've seen the results of that.
Plus, you've also got the mainstream media seems to be gunning for the president. They're on his side, and then you look at all the polls, and they seem to be skewed toward the Democrats. But that for next week, because you've got to go right now. Laura, thank you very much.
Good to see you guys.
Have a great day.
Coming up on our show, a mistake at the pharmacy nearly kills a child. Now